This is one of the most insane stories I have ever heard. A woman who used sex to kill her husband just because he got married to a second wife. Let me tell you, although this story happened in 2017, we still need to talk about it because it's insane. So, 39-year-old Omotayo Salawuddin was married to 40-year-old Akim Salawuddin, who they call Alhaji Akim, and it was said they were married for 20 years. In their marriage, they had 3 children, 2 girls and 1 boy. Life was good. Alhaji Akim took care of his wife, even bought her a car and opened a shop for her. This was the perfect family until Akim decided to marry a second wife. The second wife, who goes by the name of Tawakalitu, was said to have lived in a different apartment, a different building, but somehow Omotayo found ways to pick a quarrel with her. Omotayo did not like this woman. Neither did she like the fact that her loving husband married her. Omotayo began nagging. All of a sudden, her taste increased. She started demanding for a new car. She also requested that her husband upgraded her shop. It is possible that Tawakalitu was some sort of an independent woman in a way, who had her own thing going on, and because of that, Omotayo also requested for her husband to find her a job. But unfortunately, Akim was not making her request come true, and Omotayo started noticing that the attention that the husband was giving her was no longer there. Back in the day, anything she requested, Akim would get it, but now he is not getting them. Obviously, Akim has a new wife. The attention that he was giving to Omotayo is now shared with a new wife, and Omotayo did not like it. After concluding in her head that her husband does not like her as much, she decided that it was time to let him go. She could have easily left the marriage, but she said, nah, it was better the husband leave the marriage. And so she met up with a 24-year-old ex-convict, a young boy named Dolapo, who had just come out of prison, by the way. She met Dolapo and decided to strike a deal with him, telling Dolapo that he should come and kill her husband for her, that she would give him an apartment and give him money. And Dolapo, who is into this kind of runs, agreed to it. Some sources did say that this woman had once or twice used Dolapo to go and threaten the new wife, but the main story was Dolapo was basically hired just to kill Akim. And so they both came up with a plan, and this plan is what blew my mind. This is a part of the story that I thought, oh my God, fear women. Just fear women. Women, oh my God, fear them. In my mind, this is the kind of thing that a South African woman would do. Like, this is so South African crime story in my head. In the history of telling crime stories that happens in Nigeria, I have never seen such a plan this orchestrated by a woman. And you guys need to pay attention because it's crazy. So, around the 11th of March 2017, this was the day that the crime was supposed to happen. Omotayo sneaked Dolapo, the 24-year-old ex-convict, into her house and hid him at a small store behind the building. This happened during the day. He just brought Dolapo in and was like, see, be here and stay here till night. I will give you a signal on when to come into the house to kill my husband. And Dolapo was like, say no more. And yeah, mind you, all this is happening in Osun State, in Osogbo. So when Akin came back from work, or came back from his second wife's house, or wherever he came back from, Omotayo welcomed him with the open hands. You know, right before they kill you, they are usually nice to you, and that was what this woman did. She just said, oh my love, welcome back. She made food for him, ran him a bath of water. Even while he was eating, the children were coming to, play around their dad. Eventually, she was like sending the children away. She told all of them, go to your room, go and read, go and prepare for your jam, leave your dad alone, stop disturbing him. Akim was like, what is going on? This woman that has been giving me cold shoulder all of a sudden is being really nice to me. But there are chances that this was not out of the ordinary because, again, people said that they didn't know that Omotayo had this much grudge to that point. They knew they had issues, but they did not know it was that serious. Nobody could have seen this coming, except Akim, who suspected. Because according to what we heard, Akim previously, weeks before, had told his brother that he feels his wife is going to kill him. But there was no reason as to why he would say that. It was just a hunch. And that is because he knows, or should I say, he knew the kind of woman he married. He just did not know when she would strike. And on this day, the 11th of May 2017, was the day Akim figured out that, yeah, I married the devil. After Omotayo had given Akim food, Akim was filled up, excited, and ready to go. She then seduced him and brought him to the room where she made love to her husband. The aim of making love to her husband was to get him tired so he could fall asleep. Immediately she was done making this man excited, she got out of the bed as though she was going to the bathroom, but went to the backyard to where she had hidden Dolapo, the killer, and told Dolapo, see, I just finished making love with him, gave him a while. Once he fall asleep, you will come in. And then Dolapo is like, got you. She went back, went to have a bath, and came to bed to sleep next to her husband, cuddled him till he slept. In this man's mind, I've been fed, I've been made love to, it's time to sleep. The moment Hakim went to sleep and Omotayo knew her husband was sleeping, through the snoring, she got up, sneakily went to the back, opened the door, and told Dolapo to come in with a knife. This was around 3 a.m. the next day, the 12th of May 2017. When Dolapo got into their bedroom, Akim is sleeping. Omotayo picked up the pillow and started suffocating the husband with the pillow, while Dolapo used the knife on the husband. By the time Akim's life had given up, Omotayo gave Dolapo to go to the bathroom to wash up the blood from his hands, gave him a new cloth, a husband's jalabia, a gown that the husband usually wear, that if people see the gown outside, they will know it belongs to him. So this woman gave this criminal the gown to wear, told him to leave his bloodied clothes on the fence. It did not stop there. She now went to her children's room where they were sleeping, stole her children's phone, stole her husband's phone, and gave it to Dolapo to make it look like it was a robbery. Not only that, they also tried to make her husband's death look like some kind of cult-related activity. Some sources said they used his blood, some sources said they used a marker of some sort. But Dolapo and Omotayo tried to write on the walls and on the door cryptic messages to make it seem as though that this was some occultic killing. They wrote no price to pay, Aye asks, and forgiveness is a sin. They just wrote it all around the house, and then instantly she let Dolapo live in the Jalabia. Now, the estate they lived had vigilante men, and somehow, these vigilante men saw Dolapo, but he was wearing the Jalabia that they knew that Alhaji Akim used to wear, and that was why they did not even bother to stop the person or check, because they thought it was Alhaji Akim. So therefore, her plan worked. Dolapo successfully killed this man and left the estate without being noticed. And just like that, Omotayo waited till it was getting to dawn before she screamed and raised alarm, shouting, calling, telling everybody that they had just been robbed, that a group of men came to the house, killed her husband, took everything, and this became a big deal. Neighbors woke up to the news that Alhaji Hakim had been murdered in the most gruesome way possible, and they could not believe their eyes. Nobody could have imagined that it was Omotayo that was behind this, because it all looked real. The police came to the crime scene, they saw the body, and they saw all the cryptic messages written around, and they were like, yeah, it's definitely some Aye cultist axemen that did this. They were thrown off guard. Like Omotayo and Dolapo orchestrated a very brilliant plan in a way that they got away with it for nearly 2 months, because everyone believed that this was a robbery. Again, there was no inclination that Omotayo would have done this, because in as much as she had issues with her husband because of the new wife and the shop and the car and the things she wanted that she didn't get, even the children in the house were like, yeah, mom and dad fought small, but it wasn't that serious. It wasn't so big. That is why it's just one of those things that was normal. They were even recalling that the day before the armed robbers came, Mom and dad were cool. And so, for 2 months, the police were investigating this case as that of a robbery or a court-related activity until they traced Akim's mobile phone to somebody who had bought it. And I think this is where everything turns sour. I mean, there is always one detail they usually leave. One thing I've noticed is no matter how orchestrated a crime is, whether or not somebody learns the trick, there is always one thing they miss. There is always one clue. They always mess up somehow, some way. Because all the mobile phones that Omotayo gave to Dolapo to take with him to make it look like a robbery, she should have communicated with him and be like, yeah, nigga, don't sell it. Don't. But Dolapo, being the criminal and thief that he is, this is an ex-convict already, went to sell the phones and they traced the buyer. And it was the buyer who then told the police who sold him the phone. And that was how they got Dolapo. And Dolapo, being the criminal that he is, who has gone to jail before, is like, if I'm going down, everyone is going down with me. And that was how he routed out Omotayo and said that she was the one who did it. And this became the shock of the town. It was like, what? Oh, hell no. Nobody saw this coming. And Omotayo, when caught and arrested, did not deny. She said she regretted it, but she admitted doing it. Omotayo was arrested, obviously, and paraded along with Dolapo, and they were both, up until now, they're still in prison. It's unclear if this case went to court, but it may have gone to court. But there was a part of the story where the children, the three of them who are now, at this point, adults, began requesting and begging the police to release their mom so that she can come home. But I think that never happened, and I don't see that happening. I don't think these children understand the gravity of what this means. Just because your mom is not home to cook for you and give you food doesn't mean she's going to be allowed to come out of prison after killing her husband in that manner. Now, this is my thought with this story. I just feel like Omotayo was just very selfish. This is why I keep saying, sometimes as a man, you can marry the best mother. She may not be the best wife. It's the same thing with women. Your husband may not be the best husband to you, but if he's the best father to your kids, why destroy him? Akim was definitely taking care of his responsibilities in the house. The only reason why Omotayo is angry is because he wasn't giving her as much attention. So this is just a stupid wife. You're a dumb wife and a very selfish human being. This man is taking good care of your kids. He's even taking good care of you. Just because he's not upgrading your shop or giving you as much attention, that was why you wanted to kill him. Grow up, Omotayo. Well, you're going to hopefully grow up in prison because you are so stupid. Such stupidity. I'll keep saying this. If you notice your husband is no longer being the best husband to you, as long as he's a good father to your children, keep him around. You can leave the marriage if you want to. But this woman took it so personal and took it so selfishly. And I think her regretting is making sense because this man never did anything to you. This man doesn't beat you. This man doesn't starve you. He doesn't belittle you. You're still the first wife. He even respected you to the point that he gave the second wife a different apartment away from you. He still respects you as a first wife or as a wife. But just because you are so entitled to the human being you thought was your husband, you decided to end his life. Now your kids are out there crying for mom and dad to come home. So stupid, Omotayo, so dumb. I mean, the plan and the orchestration, yeah, smart to a point and dangerous to a point. But as a human being, as a woman, vindictive as you may be, you are just so miscalculated and dumb. So let's move on. This young lady is in serious trouble after she stabbed her boyfriend to death because he took too much time to get her food at the salon. But that is not the full story. You see, stories like this are the reason why we tell people to stay away from toxic relationships. Not just because of what could only happen to you, but what you could possibly do to somebody. In this case, Precious was said to have been dating Damilola for only God knows how long. They were said to be living together in his apartment. Their relationship seemed lovely from afar. They took pictures together, they had a lot of videos together. It looked like one of those young couple relationships that got their friends envious. However, behind closed doors and outside of the doors, this relationship was toxic. Toxic to the point that even the boy's sisters were telling the girl to go home. They were telling the girl to leave. Neighbors had advised her that she should quit this relationship because they were constantly fighting. There were always issues. The boy was always said to be beating her. These young couples were pretty much cat and mouse. And on multiple occasions, Precious and Neighbor Day was asked to leave and go home. But she didn't. She stayed. And because of that, she is going to rot in jail for the rest of her life. Most definitely. Now, this is what they said happened on the day everything went south for them. This may have been around the 2nd or 3rd of March, and according to what is going around, Damilola, the young man, had taken his girlfriend Precious to the salon to make her hair, and while they were there, he said he was going to get her food, apparently. She waited for a while and then reached out to him, and then he tells her that he went with a friend to go to the place where they would get the food, and then he had followed the friend back to the friend's house to, give the friend some things that they bought together. Basically, he was taking too much time at the place that he had told her that he was going to go. And she was just getting a little too suspicious at the fact that from what you said you went to do, you're taking more time than usual. Even though they were in constant communication and he was updating her on where and what he was doing. Pretty much, he had gone to meet a friend, they had gone to the friend's house, he had come back, he had gone somewhere else to get the blender. And in the phone call, she started nagging, talking about, where are you going? Are you sure this thing that you're doing are the things you're really doing? And the boy responded with, what do you mean by where am I or what I'm doing? That the thing that she is suspecting him of doing, that he's now finally going to do it.
It beat me to the extent that I was even trying to escape through the back door. That was when I saw him with knife, and he was saying that if he injure me finish, he will run away. I will not see him again. And this is not the first time that man will beat me. Is either he go to his friend's house or he go and lodge for days. He will not come back home.
So pretty much, it's a lot of undertone of Precious accusing Damilola of possibly cheating on her while she was busy waiting for him to get food. Eventually, he comes with his vehicle. She was done making her hair, and then they are in the car and she nags a little more, and then he gets irritated. Somewhere along the line, he steps out of the vehicle and locks her inside the vehicle. And she called few people to get to him that she had been locked into the vehicle. Eventually, she slept off in the vehicle and did not even know that the boy had come into the car and they had even started driving back home. Now, when they got home, that was when Damilola, the young man, began threatening to beat this young girl. She knew it was coming. The tension had been brewing from the vehicle down to the house. So she knew that this boy, when they get home, would beat her up because it wouldn't be the first time. According to the voice note that we heard from the narration of the girl, when they got to the house, she ran into the bathroom, locked it, and then the boy came banging at the door, obviously asking her to come outside so that he can express his anger towards her. Eventually, he stops banging at the door. She comes out, looking left and right, some kind of horror movie, hoping that he was not hiding anywhere. By the time she comes out and sees her neighbors outside, that was when the boy burst out of nowhere, pouncing on her, fighting her. He had locked the front door and had locked the back door and was ready to deal with this girl. They kept going back and forth, and then somewhere along the line, he was with a knife and then threatened to stab her, even going as far as telling her that he's going to injure her, run away from the house, and nobody would know where he was. And the girl said that he had done that before. That was why she knew that he would be able to do it again. Pretty much the threat that he was making of causing injuries on her and running away was something that he had done in the past, beating her to the point that neighbors were the one who had to call him to come and take her to the hospital because he would beat her up to the point she would faint and he would run away. 2 3 days he would not come to the house. It's usually the neighbors that would take her to the hospital. So on this day, around the 2nd and 3rd of March, when Damilola made that threat to Precious, she took it seriously because it's something that he was capable of. So she ran to the kitchen and he came after her. She picked up a knife and that was when she stabbed him. By this time, the neighbors had burst in and they saw Damilola in the state. The young girl, was pretty much said to have run away. Is uncertain, but Damilola was rushed to the hospital where he was instantly pronounced dead on arrival. When the story first broke out, it was Damilola's sister who came forward on TikTok talking about it, blaming the girl and saying the girl had finally killed the brother. But the lady, on her response, began showing photos of her bruised face and injured body. However, the sister to the young man, called it bullshit, saying that she was showing old photos of their past toxic fight, citing that in this particular instance, she was the agitator, she was the aggressor, and she was the one who pretty much deliberately killed this young man out of the fact that she suspected him of cheating. The young lady, Precious, is still claiming self-defense. She is claiming that she was defending herself from the young man, but the family of the young man don't believe it. But here is the kicker, and this is the problem with stories like this. I don't know what will happen to Precious, but obviously she would face the court of law. But when the story started going viral, Precious's family reached out to Damilola's family, trying to make inquiries about where the girl was arrested or where she was taken to. And in that conversation, we learned that Precious's family had not seen her for 3 years, citing that she had run away from the house for a very long time to stay with Damilola, the boyfriend. This is a 21-year-old girl. So if they had not seen her for 2-3 years per se, or even 4 years, she must have been about 18 when she left. So this is a typical young girl run away from home to go and stay with a man kind of tragedy. Because why hasn't her family seen her in that long? Why did she think it was okay to run away from the home at that age to go and stay with a boy that hadn't even paid her bride price? Now all of a sudden she's in hot water and the family are now forced to come in to step in for a story that they had no idea about. They did not know where this girl had been all this while. I mean, they knew about the boy, but basically they were in communication with her. However, they did not know as much. The bottom line of this story, at the end of the day, what this just teaches us is basically, if you are in a toxic relationship, even though you can hold your own, even though you can stand your ground, even though you can fight, even though nobody can oppress you, staying in that relationship would only lead you into being tempted to do something. If you are not the victim, you are the killer, you are the murderer, you are the abuser, and either way, you're going to lose. If you kill your partner in the toxic relationship, you will go to jail. If they kill you, you will die. So it doesn't matter whether or not you're capable of being in one toxic relationship or the other. Just leave. So something strange happened in Zambia around the 28th of March 2025 of a man by the name of Zuma Banda, who was arrested after it was discovered he had sexually abused one of his daughters and infected her with HIV. Now, this story gets worse. So brace yourself because you're not ready for this, I promise you. According to what we know, Zuma is married to 3 wives and he seemed to have multiple children. Now, one of the wives discovered that their daughter was feeling a little bit odd and different. And so the wife decided to take her to the hospital to see what was up. It was in the hospital there that they discovered that this girl had been abused by the dad and had been infected with HIV. And instantly, from the hospital, the report was made by the medical people who then involved the police. Right away, Zumabanda was arrested. Obviously, the girl named the father to be the one who had done this to her. And so the man was taken into police custody and was arrested. That is the first part of the story. Soon, around April, the man's three wives were arrested by the police. Why? Because they had gone back to the police station to try to get their husband out. They had gone there to see if they could together secure the release of Zuma Banda. They went there trying to see if they can talk to the police and get the husband out. Basically, trying to tell the police that, see, it's a family thing, don't worry, just let it go. This is between us. Just, we want our husband out. And then the police were like, nah, the offense laid, accused on your husband is too strong to just let him go like that. And so they decided to take the back door. These three wives of Zuma Banda offered a certain amount of money to the police just so they could get the man out. And this became the offense of these women. And immediately, the women were locked up. When people found out that these women had gone to secure the release or bribe the police for the release of their husband, despite what it did to the children, people were mad. They were angry. And while this whole thing was going on, people were paying attention to Zuma Banda's house. And that was when they started hearing strange noises, strange things. They were like, wait a minute. The kids are not in the house, most definitely. The women are arrested. The man is in prison. What are all those noises coming from this man's house? And so the neighborhood burst into the man's house. Lo and behold, they saw fetish items. They saw cats. And in a sack bag, they saw a live python in this house. And that was when they realized that Zuma Banda was a witch doctor. He was a wizard. He was a native doctor. He was into fetish things. It was in this moment that people realized that, wait a minute, so this is not more than just him sleeping with his daughter. That was most likely done for ritual purposes. At this point, people started putting one and two together to realize that this man had his wives spellbound. This man had pretty much used his juju to hold these women captive, to the point that even after he did what he did, they still united. They still came together, all three of them, to go and bribe the police to get him out. It's just interesting how this case went from incest to HIV to your wives coming to bribe the police to get you out, and to discovering that there is a python in your house, there are calabashes in your house, there are charms and juju in your house, there are cats in your house, and the neighbors say that they heard strange cries coming from that house every now and then. It gets worse. It gets worse. Eventually, while the women were in custody, one of them dies. She suddenly fell ill and was rushed to the hospital, and she died. Some people have started speculating that maybe that was why the women were rushing to go and get him. Not because they cared that much for him, but mostly because they know the implication of him not coming back. Some people are suspecting that if he doesn't come back, the wives will start dying one by one, or something bad will happen to the children. And I think that was why the women all came to get him. Because let's face it, if all these fetish items and a sack bag of python was found in their house, it means the women were aware of it. It means the wives knew about it. One of the wives, they say, is a person with albinism. And so when you look at the history of people with albinism and African juju, you realize that these people are people who have been associated with spiritual powers, charms, and they are sometimes targets too for juju. People would target people with albinism, cut parts of their body for charms. So a lot of people suspected that his wife, that is a person of albinism, is part of his lucky charms. The whole story just escalated and turned into something that you would only see out of a horror movie. Zuma Banda is still in prison. Now that one of the wives is dead, it's unclear how the case will go. It's not clear if it's the wife that is the mother to the victim who was abused or infected, or it's just one of the other wives. But the story is one that is so haunting, and I don't know if they can come out of this. I don't see them coming back to the house. Now, I don't know about the other children or how old they were, but From here onwards, the lives of this family will change. Do I think this man used his child for juju or had his wife spellbound? I believe it because it's just crazy. The thing is, I feel like for one of the women to go and check this out, she probably did not know that that part was also going on. And maybe that was why it escalated. But then again, knowing the kind of husband you're married to and not knowing that this would get to the point where he would be arrested, I guess they had a change of mind. It could also be that this is a man providing for them. And that was why they needed him back to the house, per se. That was why they needed him to come back. Maybe they realized that, okay, it's just one child, so, he had other children to take care of. So if they send him to, because that's the thing with men and families and wives. A lot of these women are dependent on their husband to have them taken care of. So if the husband commits one crime or does one offense, they still let it go because it's not enough to throw him all the way in jail. Because if he's in jail, it's no good to them. Who's going to give them money to cook? Who's going to pay the children's school fees? Who's going to pay the rent if they needed to pay rent? Who's going to give them money, provide for them? At the end of the day, they had to weigh their options. And then they realized that, yeah, even though our husband did this, it's best for him to come back home. And in that process, they too got locked up. And one of them now is gone. Hopefully, they all don't die in custody. I would have to follow the story. I would have to follow this story and see where it goes. So make sure you're staying subscribed because, damn, it would be nice to see how this play out in court.